Good morning, all. I just thought I'd do a quick post on the defection of Nadhim Zahawi, I believe is the pronunciation, over to Reform. To say that there's been mixed responses is probably being fair and saying the minimum. Obviously, if you are a fed up Tory or even an ex-Labour supporter in the Red Wall and everything else, I get it. I do get it. This is a man who has been in the belly of the beast, so to speak, of the Conservative Party for the last, I don't know how many years, and whose fingerprints basically are on a great deal of problems that stem from that time. So I get that. I do get that. And I also understand the fact that, the people who just say, well, it's just turning into the Tory party Mark II, etc., etc. I think the counterpoint to that is simply Reform is sure to people who actually have any experience of government, like they have no one. And so they are either going to have to get people from other parties who have been in government, understand the processes, understand the pitfalls, understand actually how to maneuver around them, all the way through to actually, really basic stuff like how to run a bill through Parliament. It's a complicated process that doesn't just come out of nowhere. And so they either have to get them as defections or they have to get them as retired or something else. And the general problem you get is that those people who have the experience and are the most useful are going to be the ones that have been at the top of particular parties or any of the parties. So you'll always have this friction between or tension between the need for experience and the wish to not actually take over anything from the past. So I think people need to understand that. Now, I don't really know. I think that from what I understand, he's a very gifted man, clearly. Do his politics and mine match up perfectly? Probably not. I'm not going to lie about that. However, from the other perspective, he clearly has a good track record in lots of ways in Parliament, in government, particularly, for example, the vaccine, as vaccines minister. And again, you can agree or disagree over the COVID vaccines. I'm actually pro them for older people, but that's by the by. The fact that he managed to manoeuvre that through the civil service in such a quick time indicates that he's obviously a man who knows how to get things done. And he's obviously a very gifted man. He built YouGov up. He has been at the top of the Conservative Party, etc., etc. So, from that perspective, let's think slightly methodically about it. I think more broadly, though, and this is, I suppose, my concern that I would have with him is some of the things that I think Reform are going to have to tackle. I wonder if he's going to have the stomach for, including, for example, deportations, the end of global free trade, which is dying right now, all the way through to massive constitutional change. Where I do push back, and I do this deliberately but with understanding, out those who just don't like him because he is an immigrant. I'm sorry, I find that it's just not good enough piece of analysis, bluntly. And he's clearly a man who's moved here. He has done everything you would expect an immigrant to do. He's learnt the language. He speaks better than a lot of British people now. He has been successful. He's tried to give back. No one who's a multimillionaire has to go into politics. Let's be clear. No one. You don't have to go into politics. You're already rich. Okay, you're already successful. So he's obviously gone into politics because he felt that he wanted to give something back. And so I find the attacks on him on that basis really quite abhorrent. And I think that the people who are doing it should maybe check themselves, because although I can understand the drive, the wish, the wish to try and protect the British nation, the English culture. This is in England, but more broadly the British culture and everything else. And I even have a lot of sympathy for those who state that obviously Englishness is more than just living here. However, that cannot always be completely at the expense of just attacking those who have been here for decades, or whose family may have moved here many, many decades ago, who are successfully integrated in every way. They have done everything that someone would ask of them as a migrant. They are part of British culture. They are doing their part for their country. And so to just attack them because their family wasn't from here, or they weren't originally from here, I just think is unacceptable. And I think also on top of that, it's counterproductive, because I hate to say it to the people who are full-blown ethno-nationalists or near to, who can't kind of see the subtlety in here that needs to be teased out, you will lose. And let me explain why. There is no chance in this world that I'm going to go out and vote and campaign and fight for the mass exclusion of people from this country who have been, as I said, successful in integrating and have given back in every way, or in terms of my view, as British you and I on a day-to-day basis. And if you cannot get me to move to that position, you have not got diddly squat chance in making the whole country move there. So you might want to give your head a wobble and actually start thinking about some sort of subtlety in here over how this works. I was watching a Heretics last night with Carl Benjamin on, who I don't think anyone would believe is some squishy lefty, and he was talking a great deal of sense in talking about who, how, and everything else, and talking about actual details and actually trying to tease out the nuance there. So kudos to him. And I wish those who jump at any migrant or any minority that may want to actually help reform as being just not British should perhaps view that video and think about it. I would also say that, and this is to take something that Pete North used to say about Brexit, this will be a process to sort this country out, as it will be a process to sort every country out. You're not going to jump from here to there in one go. You're going to jump in multiple stages. You're going to probably find that there's going to be push and pull along the way. What you should be aiming for is a 20-year process to get the country moving in the right direction. And it will be 20 years, because what you will find is that there will be a sudden turnaround. It will start shifting, and then there'll be stop, start, stop, start. That is the nature of democracy. That is the nature of our politics that we live within. It is frustrating, but then if you want to look at pretty much any major political turning point, they very rarely turn on twopence piece, because you're talking about millions and millions of people, culture, economies, and so much more being forced to move at the same time. And by the way, I'm hopeful that the beginning will be quite quick and we can get it moving in that right direction. But you're not going to go there in one jump. And so, I think a lot of people need to realise that you need to get the truck moving in the right direction, and then you can start that process of actually tacking it into the right, exactly how you want it to be and everything else. As much as anything else, what's important is the fact that once we get it moving in that direction, you do so because effectively you grasp enough public support that the other parties are forced by political necessity to tuck in behind you, which basically is what happened after the post-war with the Bretton Woods economic and system. It's what happened with the Thatcher revolution. It's what happened with the Blair revolution. These systems all cut in, and basically everyone just went along with it because the public was largely in favour of them. And much like, I hasten to add, much like all of those revolutions, what will happen is, political revolutions, is at some stage, the next one, in 20 or 30 years' time, will run out of steam. It will have gone too far. It will be feeding upon its excesses, and the country will have to tack to something new. That is the nature of it. That is how it works. The aim is to be in a position where when it tacks to something new, it doesn't just tack back to what we had. So anyway, I don't know, to go back to the initial point, I don't know if anything's been promised to Zahawi. I think that's pronunciation. Farage says no. Believe that or not. I don't know what position he would even take. He is a money man, so his ability to raise money for the party will be great. I don't know how other people will think about this beyond the very online right. God, I hate that expression. I suspect that it will pretty much wash off of most people's heads because most people aren't even following politics at the moment, which actually to a certain extent benefits Farage because people have tuned out. All they just see is the country around them decaying and they feel rage. And rage is basically what's feeding the rise of reform and also actually the Greens. So we will see. That's it. Thank you.